Hello, everybody, and welcome to iGaming Next Weekly News Live. I'm hoping for a smooth show today, although I've been having a few connection issues back in the green room there as we were warming up. So fingers crossed it all goes swimmingly. Do let us know in the comments if anything goes wrong, and we'll do our best to fix it. We'll put our producer Elizabeth on the job. But if anything does go wrong, Nico Janssen is here with me to make sure we carry on as normal. Keep calm and carry on, as they say, Nico. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
I'm all good. And first of all, thank you for taking over the prestigious position as having issues with Wi-Fi or the network or the hardware itself. Usually that was my spot, but I'm happily handing it over to you. So I'm keeping my fingers, foot and toes crossed. It will all work out. As of now, it's synchronized. Your smile is all over the place. So as said, good luck to all of us.
Yes, exactly. There's always something, isn't there? That's the problem with live broadcasting. Anything could happen, but yeah, the show must go on, Nico. And you got back from Barcelona recently, I think.
Exactly.
So should we start by hearing how the show went? It sounded like it was a great show from people I've spoken to so far.
Yeah, so from my perspective as well, the show was great. They doubled the size with like 15,000 delegates, added a totally new hall to the existing big one. So it was awesome, well organized. Shout out once again to my big brother Rasmus. And it was fun to just see the overall iGaming and gaming industry coming together in one place. And yeah, there had been some nice dinners going on, private dinners going on, and as said, it was just great to talk to each and everybody, especially as it was just in one place in a nice and sunny environment. It's pretty much the same like during ice, but we all know London in February ain't as sunny and as warm as Barcelona in September.
Yeah, and of course, this show is moving as well next year to Lisbon, which is quite interesting. I expect there are a few people talking about that, were there?
Yeah. So, and we literally, when we touched down on the topic as well, when we were discussing the things where Clarion might move, because it was obvious that they wanted to shift away from London, and Lisbon was one of my thoughts as well, as they are actually hosting the Web Summit, which was when I attended the Web Summit with one of my startups back in 2015, which it was just the most or the best organized exhibition I've ever been. So you just literally got your badge at the airport. So they were handing out
Oh,
badges at the airport. It was still in Dublin during that time. And as said, it was just perfectly and smooth organized, as you could literally feel the overall Web Summit fever all over the town in Dublin. Of course, Dublin is a little bit smaller than London, probably. There are rumors going around that it's smaller than London. But as said, it was just nice. And moving over to Lisbon is a pretty smart move. And as they all obviously already can cater the Web Summit, which is way bigger than any other gaming shows we know. If I'm not mistaken, they host at least 60 or 80,000 delegates. Yeah, as said, it's a smart move, and fingers crossed, it will all work out for first of all the hosting companies and the exhibitors as well.
yep, a lot of people looking forward to going to Lisbon, I think. As you can see, it's just the two of us today, me and Nico. So thank you for keeping us company in the comments there. Hello to Elizabeth and to Bogdan, Michael, Antonio, and somebody there said, "Hey everyone," who I can't quite see, Nico. I don't know if you can see who that is. It just says LinkedIn user on mine.
Exactly, it's a LinkedIn. It's a LinkedIn user. As long
Well,
it,
thanks
it
anyway.
seems no bot. Seems no bot. So we have been kind of great fun with all the bots. And shout out once again to Ross, who I had the pleasure to had a couple of drinks with him, and
Oh no, really?
yeah, it was great. It was a great evening. It was a great evening. Yeah, as said, it was fun. So actually, I had a nice dinner. We walked back from Superbopa, which is a great restaurant run by a German. And then we stopped by at the Barbula Bar. This is the bar where I first ever met Pierre Lind. Shout out once again to the managing director and founder of iGaming Next, live and in person. And it seems like the Barbula Bar is still
Still the place to be.
yeah, it's still the place to be. And we just literally bumped into the overall iGaming crew. And yeah, they welcomed me like family. And once again, shout out to each and everybody who participated at this funny and lovely evening as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Always good to catch up. Thanks to Sean as well, who says hello, and obviously to our major sponsors this week as well, Playson and Hub88. Thank you very much for your ongoing support. Nico, we've got a few things to talk about today, but I think we should probably begin with 10 and 5. So, yeah, feel free to take it away.
Happy to start. Happy to start. So, last week we literally spoke about all the security issues going on in Las Vegas with MGM and Caesars. As of now, it seems like because there have been 5 lawsuits filed against MGM and Caesars following the cyber attacks. So 5 separate class action lawsuits have been filed against MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment following the cyber attacks that occurred during this month, pretty much just 2 weeks ago. So the suits allege that the casino operators failed to adequately protect customer data during the attacks, which closed down MGM's operations and forced both operators to pay a ransom. So if you want to get familiar with this story once again, first of all, listen to last week's episode where we covered this one as well. Then Better Collective announced a dual listing of shares on NASDAQ Copenhagen. So Better Collective has announced its intention to carry out listings of its shares on NASDAQ Copenhagen in addition to NASDAQ Stockholm. And based on the statements of Jasper Sogard, which is one of the CEOs and founders, since the Swedish IPO in 2018, we have significantly grown the business, adding value for our shareholders while putting forward a new vision to become the leading digital sports media group. And it seems like this is just the next step for Better Collective. Then heading over to news from the UAE, as David von Rosen eyes the launch of a $1 billion US dollar jackpot in Dubai. So the Lottoland founder David von Rosen has declared his ambitious goal to break all global lottery records by launching the first ever $1 billion lotto jackpot. Just remember 3-4 weeks ago, the UAE officially established a General Commercial Gaming Regulatory Board, short GCGRA, and as of now, this might be the first big hit from them. So JP Morgan upgrades the rating and price target for DraftKings stock. 2 days ago, on the 26th of September, JP Morgan analyst Joseph Greff elevated the stock rating from neutral to overweight and raised the price target from $26 to $37 US. So, however, although with this increased target price, the stock is still considerably distance away from its all-time high, which was at $72 US. I just looked up the actual price. It was around $29, but have an eye on DraftKings. The Star Entertainment Group intends to raise up to 1.2 billion Australian dollars through a blend of equity and debt measures to address existing debt concerns and enhance its financial position. So we will see another move on the Stars Group as well. And now 2 news from Florida, as pari-mutuel operators ask Florida Supreme Court to strike down the Seminoles Florida sports betting deal. So the actual deal includes a hub and spoke plan designed to allow gamblers anywhere in the States to place bets online, with the wagers to run through computer servers and tribal property. And the deal said bets using a mobile app or other electronic devices shall be deemed to be exclusively conducted by the Seminole tribe. So there's the first news. We will see how this plays out. And then Florida regulators target daily fantasy sports companies with cease and desist letter. So the Florida Gaming Control Commissioner and Executive Director, Louis Trobetta, has sent out cease and desist letters to multiple pro-style daily fantasy sports, informing them that under Florida law, betting and wagering on the result of contests of skill, such as sports betting, including fantasy sports betting, is strictly prohibited or exclusively owned to the Seminole tribe. So 2 lawsuits, which we will update you as soon as we have a ruling on this one as well. So Chile orders Football Federation to drop betting sponsorships deals, which we will cover up as well as soon as we talk about Serbia, as the government of Chile is still working on legislations to regulate online gambling. In the meantime, it has ordered sports bodies to respect the Supreme Court ruling that clarifies that online gambling is currently illegal. And guess what? Betson has signed the first division with a sponsorship deal. So also this deal is in struggle. 2 more to go, as Denmark is about to implement a player ID system across retail gambling outlets. With the new system, the new system will require players to use IDs when playing at betting shops across Denmark, and these IDs should be linked to the player's gambling account through which they receive their winnings. It works online and offline. 1 more to go, as Norwegian regulators inspect 9 banks over gambling transactions. So the Norwegian Gambling Authority, NGA, is monitoring 9 banks in the country to ensure they comply with a ban on processing transactions for unlicensed gambling operators. Legal expert and NGA senior advisor Ranveig Gramskar said, for a long time we have focused on dialogue with the Norwegian banks and financial institutions. For the first time, we have now chosen to conduct a more comprehensive inspection of compliance. So we will see how this one will work out as well. And these had been my 10 and probably 7 minutes.
Fantastic job, Nico. Thank you very much for that. Good to see some iGaming Next headlines in there, and perfect for anyone who doesn't quite have time to keep up with the news all week, that roundup. We're quite popular today, Nico. We're joined by Dr. Damir Bohm, Gabriel, and of course Liga from Riga. So I think it's probably time we dive into our first major topic of the day, which is the news that Flutter has moved into Serbia with a stake in MaxBet. So Flutter, I'm sure you saw this story, Nico, paid 141 million for a 51% stake in the company. That makes them a majority shareholder, and MaxBet is supposed to be the second biggest omni-channel betting company in Serbia. Flutter said that MaxBet has an estimated online market share of 20%, and that's competing against operators like Mozart Bet and Meriden Bet and a few other local heroes, as they're probably called. And Flutter said the low online penetration is what really attracted them to the market, as it currently stands at just 35%. And it has an expected online compound annual growth rate of 15% up to 2025. More stats, they said the overall market is meant to be worth around 700 million euros. So plenty of growth potential there. And especially when, Flutter integrates kind of its tech and its marketing expertise. And if we look at MaxBet a little bit more closely as a business, they generated 145 million euros of revenue over the past 12 months. 44% of that came from online, and that was alongside adjusted EBITDA of 32 million euros. So not bad, but pretty much peanuts for Flutter, to be frank, if you look at their other brands in their kind of international division and other operating divisions. I've got a question for you, though, Nico. So MaxBet operates more than 400 retail betting shops across 4 markets, right? But outside of Serbia, what other 3 markets do you think MaxBet is live in?
First of all, shout out to you. Usually Pierre used to put me on the hot seat, so that's great. I know they are not operating in Germany, for sure. They are not operating in Germany. Probably they are well established in the overall Balkan area. Then I'm going with Croatia as the second market. Macedonia with the third market, and the fourth market. Bosnia-Herzegovina?
Yeah, awesome. Close, 2 out of 3, so gold star. The one you missed was Montenegro, and they're not
Okay.
active in Croatia. But yeah, as you say, Bosnia and Macedonia. Great geography there, Nico. I'm very impressed. And obviously, our viewers can scan the QR code there in the top left if you want to read some more detail on this story. But so MaxBet attracts 95,000 online average monthly players, and it employs nearly 2,500 staff. And Nico, this looks to me like another sign that the kind of CEE, Central and Eastern Europe region, is kind of where it's at for regulated operators right now. A bit like that bar in Barcelona. CEE is kind of the place to be, isn't it, for European gambling companies right now?
Yeah, it seems so, especially, and I'm pretty sure we'll touch on that one as well, as we've seen also Betson move into that market with their risk casino as well. This was also a story which you covered by beginning of September when they officially announced, okay, we will now start operating with Risk Casino, our brand in Serbia. They already got the license back in February, but it obviously took them some time to, first of all, diversify their portfolio. And as they probably need to move out of Chile, probably they will now touch down and extend their reach in Serbia with the Risk Casino offerings.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that story. I reread it again this morning, and one thing that jumped out at me is that when we've talked about Betson recently, and I think kind of, the picture people have in their minds is that Betson is kind of a LATAM growth-focused company. But if we look back at Q2 2023, which is obviously the most recent quarter, Central and Eastern Europe provided the strongest revenue growth of any market, as it climbed 68% for Betson to 102.6 million. And that obviously includes Serbia, like you say, and Risk Casino. So yeah. Also, Nico, we've seen Entain make massive moves in Central and Eastern Europe, haven't we? Not strictly in Serbia, but we've seen them buy businesses like Supersport in Croatia, STS in Poland. So
Yeah.
they've obviously identified this region as well as a major growth driver, would you say?
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, especially with the STS deal, which was roughly, if I'm not mistaken, 900 or 750 million pounds, which is roughly 950 US. As we can see, the well-established brands and the big brands like the Entains, the Flutters of this world are just, extending their reach. And it seems like these markets are, as of now, worth investing.
Yeah, precisely. And this, I think this deal follows quite a well-trodden path by Flutter, where it kind of buys, local heroes in markets it wants to expand into. Peter Jackson said that himself. He said, like, it's a bit like our deal in Georgia with Ajarabet, and in India with Jungly Games, and they've obviously identified MaxBet as their preferred business in Serbia. If we just look a little briefly at kind of gambling in Serbia, so it's been legal since 2006, whereas online gambling became legal in 2011. The market is regulated by the Serbian Games of Chance Administration, which enforces a 10% tax on GGR for online casino games. So there we are. You don't even need to read any regulations because I've just basically summarized it beautifully for you.
And you nearly hit them all, except that an online casino license costs 2,500 euros per month. So it's roughly 30,000 K, and with a 10% on GGR, it's quite a nice market to actually enter.
Yeah, exactly. And interesting to hear that Bogdan visited Serbia recently, and he says MaxBet's got quite a visible presence, certainly on the high street out there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can really drive those online numbers up a little bit by using their kind of playbook that's worked so well elsewhere. Okay, good stuff on that story. Now, I think there's a couple more things we want to discuss, and it seems to me like Q2 only just finished a moment ago, but operators are already worried about their performance in Q3. Both 888 and Entain this week, which are quite similar businesses in a lot of ways, have put out earnings warnings, suggesting Q3 is not going to be particularly good due to a combination of factors. Entain was first with this on Monday, and their shares fell 8% on the news that it expects single-digit decline in pro forma online net gaming revenue for Q3. If we look at why they've expected this, it's several factors. So these are adverse sporting results affecting sports margins. So basically, punter favourable results throughout the summer. The ongoing implementation of safer gambling measures, and slower than expected growth in Australia and Italy. And when we move on to talk about 888, a lot of those will become kind of recurring themes, I think, for many operators. If we look at basically they've said their full year EBITDA guidance will be unchanged, even though Q3 is likely to be worse than expected. So that should come in between about 1 and 1.1 billion pounds. But if you remember, Nico, in July, we broke the story that Entain was kind of implementing this commercial function overhaul, and it was, a lot of people were going to be made redundant in some of its European offices. And it looks like they're going to have to accelerate that strategy now following this kind of softer than expected Q3 performance. And they've said that to investors, they're basically going to have to do a comprehensive market review to work out whether there's any markets, that are a drain on resources. And they're also going to continue to simplify group structures and operations. And that's something we're likely to see probably quite a few gambling businesses doing. These strategic reviews seem more and more common, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. And there you actually see, the stock listed companies, of course, they need to come up with a warning as soon as they're aware of things might not go in the direction as expected. And that's why 888 and Entain probably came up with the news with this news first. And if you just take a look at the 888 stock price, it nearly took a hit of 25%, 23%, if I'm not mistaken, from 110, not US, because they are listed at a different stock exchange, up to 91. So it's nearly 23%. So I'm pretty sure we will just see even other companies taking it, except Bet365, as they are not officially listed. So that's why by probably Q2 next year, we will just see how much of a dividend Denise paid out to herself. But as said, this is just based on the urge to actually need to come up with a statement as soon as you're aware of if you're a stock price listed company.
Yeah, and obviously the investment banks keep a very close eye on that, and Peel Hunt is one that we often refer to in our coverage. So they've they're not panicking yet on Entain. They've reiterated their buy rating, but they have downgraded the target price from 1,700 pence to 1,300 pence. And somebody in the iGaming Next WhatsApp group, by the way, which if you're not in, you should definitely join. I don't know if production can maybe put a QR code up or something, but it's a really good resource. Somebody posted a Morgan Stanley note as well on the Entain update. And Morgan Stanley pointed out that Entain had delivered 24 consecutive quarters of double-digit online growth between 2016 and 2022, which is remarkable. And they've said that they should be able to do that again. So they're not panicking either, although they did admit that a lot of that growth was due to them making improvements in businesses that have massively underperformed previously. So you think like they bought Ladbrokes Coral and turned that around. They bought Bwin and they turned that around. And also, crucially, due to the stronger appetite for risk of the former management team. So if you remember, Kenny and Shai Segev, when it was those guys in charge, they probably were a bit more tempted to chase revenues in regulating or pre-regulated markets, shall we say. The business has transformed a bit recently, hasn't it, Nico? And that appetite is definitely less than it once was.
Exactly. But as you just dropped the name, once again, shout out to Shay Segev and his team of DAZN. They just got the license in Germany as well, which is their home market, and there you can actually see like he still has the hunger and still got his team around, and I'm pretty sure we will see some significant moves with their DAZN app as soon as the app will be released as well, and probably shout out to Ian Turnbull as well. And it's time to actually onboard him once again and make him part of this lovely live stream as well. But I'm just giving him a ring from time to time, and then for sure within a couple of weeks we will have him on the podcast once again.
Yeah, maybe when they do that full integration so that you can stream and bet at the same time, we'll definitely have to get them back on Weekly News. Nico, I've seen you really trying hard to avoid Roger's comment in the chats there, but I'm not going to let you escape, because I think this is the second time in 2 or 3 shows that somebody's put this on the chat?
Yeah, in 2 shows. Last time it was Brandy. And I met her actually in Barcelona. It was 3 weeks ago. I met her in Barcelona, and she kept on touching my hair, so she was pushing it a little bit too far. So if Brandy is lost as of now, there's always a reason for people disappear, but you never know, right? And Roger, once again, shout out to you, to the event you hosted in Barcelona on a Monday evening. It was lovely seeing you, and you are always one of the greatest guys. And thanks again for putting a smile on each and everybody out there, just asking how my hair actually comes into this kind of nice and well looking. I will share the secret as soon as we meet once again in London, Roger. And yeah.
Well, you've been warned, Roger. You can look, but you can't touch. Seems to be the advice there from Nico. I think it's strange, Nico. Nobody seems to ask me about my hair on this stream. It's just you and Connor getting all the love. Unfortunate. Anyway, we digress. Let's move on to 888, who also put out a pretty damning profit warning this morning. This was their shares fell by 14% in early trading today, because the company said that Q3 revenue was expected to fall by 10% to around 400 million. Now, similar to Entain, they said this was due to compliance changes in .com markets, customer-friendly sports results once again, and the continued impact of safer gambling measures. So interesting that I feel like last year around this time, operators were blaming lower revenues on safer gambling measures, and now we've lapped that period. We're a year on. They're still having an impact, and you wonder, did operators... had they really implemented them by then, or were they kind of just saying all the right things? Are the negative effects actually really being felt now? I think One thing that was interesting to me, Nico, was that both companies experienced strong retail performance. So even though there's all these headwinds in online, 888 still expects retail to grow by mid-single digits for the full year 2023. I don't know what it's like in Germany, but in the UK, sort of the rest of the high street seems to be falling apart a little bit after COVID. So interesting to hear that kind of retail bookmakers are back on the way up.
Yeah, especially if you consider with the buying the retail business of William Hill, out of a sudden you just become the number one retail bookmaker in a well-established market. If I'm not mistaken, William Hill operates roughly 1,200, 1,300 betting shops all over the UK. And if 888 was, they had just been a pure online company, out of a sudden you just become the biggest bookmaker, retail bookmaker in the UK. Of course, that just puts you into another spot, into another light. And as you already mentioned, of course, there's a hard battle in between all the betting shops, especially in Germany, as we have the kind of, due to the new gambling treaty, you're not allowed to open up a betting shop with a distance less than 500 meters to the next betting shop. So as of
Okay.
now, if you just have the overall kind of landscape of Germany, you don't see any kind of blind spots on the landscape. And if a retail shop closes down, they don't close down, they just change the operator. So you see a former typical shop becoming a tip-win shop, or a vet arena shop becoming a tip-win shop as well. So you just see existing franchisers moving over to another operator. This is all over Germany. And as said, I'm pretty sure that's why they, especially 888, are looking forward to just especially increase the revenues originating from retail betting shops as well.
Yeah, good point. And you're absolutely right to mention William Hill, because if we look at H1 for 888, revenue rose by 165.5% year on year, which was nearly all driven by the acquisition of William Hill, which obviously completed last July. But if we look at it on a pro forma basis, so basically assuming 888 had owned William Hill the whole time, revenue actually declined by 6.5%. So there we are. And if we look at Entain over the same period, so retail for H1, their retail revenue went up 11% to 709 million, which is about 150 million less than 888 and William Hill. But despite these kind of negative updates and earnings warnings and everything else, back to Peel Hunt and their lead gaming analyst, Ivor Jones. He is expecting improved prospects for 888 on the horizon, and he's risen the target price from 150p to 175p. And his investor note today said, "It's been a challenging year for 888, but we believe there are better times ahead." Nico, are there better times ahead for you? What are you up to this afternoon after this stream? How was that for a segue?
First of all, I'm still, and as already mentioned when we just warmed up, I'm in the office where the first ever online sports bet has been processed. So I'm in Salzburg, lovely little town. And from tomorrow on, I will join the crowd at the Oktoberfest for roughly 4 days in a row. So if I might get lost next week, Monday, there's also a reason for this one as well. So Oktoberfest, I skipped the madness of Oktoberfest until now. And
Wow.
tomorrow I'm back in the game.
That'll be fun. You might even still be hungover for weekly news next week. In that case, if you're on it for the next 4 days, but we'll see. We'll see. I suggest people tune in next week to see what state Nico has ended
Yeah,
up.
yeah, exactly. And if I can keep my hair as well, so this will be an ongoing discussion. And probably next week someone else will ask how I just manage my hair.
Yeah, if anything puts it to the test, it will be 4 days of Oktoberfest. Um, Well, we said we were going to do a nice tight half an hour, and there we are. That'll do, I think, for today, Nico. So thank you so much for joining me and being my co-host. And thanks to everyone that's commented in the chat. It's been a really lively discussion today, which is awesome. Thank you for your support. And a big shout out goes out as well, of course, to our sponsors, Place and Hub 88. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
iGaming Next, the premier thought leadership event that inspires and enriches the iGaming community.
An entertainment industry driven by tech.
It's tech, it's art, it's entertainment, it's Hollywood.
It's about the content, the game.
Plethora of sessions, a sold-out exhibition, entertainment areas, multitude of networking events, and ample space to meet.
In the business of fun and fortune, we must never forget that we're not just spinning reels, we're spinning stories for our players in a responsible way. For all of us, that is the true jackpot.
The only constant in life is change, and this is really happening as we speak.
We buy the change.